them the signal that we're sick and dying, they'll respond. So we don't want to give them that signal. Don't give them the chance. This is how we can protect ourselves. One of the ways we can protect ourselves. Keep your mineral content of your blood high, you'll be alkaline. Like I said, acidity gives the message, come eat me. You don't want to be acidic. That doesn't mean you don't eat acidic foods. It's a different thing. Acidity has to do with the mineralization of your blood, specifically calcium. So that's why we want to eat foods that are high in these, from pastured animals. Because when we eat foods that are high in those fat-soluble activators, we absorb our minerals into our body, into our bloodstream. They don't get excreted, and they don't get laid down in soft tissue where they don't belong and they cause problems. So many people, gallstones, kidney stones, I mean, calcification diseases are really rampant. You know, it's like, why? Because yes, they are getting enough to lay the minerals down of these two nutrients, but none of this. Where do you find this? In those sacred foods, those animal foods that are high in fat. So, any other questions? I think we're almost to the end of our, few more minutes.
Can you make the crowd with a kombucha inoculum?
Hey, that's probably a really good idea. Why not? Why not? It's just lactobacteria. The one thing I will say about kombucha is that kombucha is, well, they call it a SCOBY, or a symbiotic colony of bacteria and yeast. So it's not just bacteria, there's yeast as well. Some people refer to it as a fungus. I don't really know what kombucha is, but that's because nobody really knows what it is. Have you ever seen one? Have you ever seen they call them a mother, or the SCOBY that sits on the top of the jar. How many of you have ever seen one? I wish I would have brought one now. Yeah, they look like a space creature, huh? They're like a flat disc, kind of rubbery. When you pull them out, they feel kind of silky, but
it's a pseudobacteria.
A jellyfish?
Jelly. They look like a jellyfish. They look like a jellyfish. They've been on the planet for a really long time. They originated in Asia, made their way up to the Russian provinces. And the interesting thing about kombucha is that the process of the yeast and bacteria metabolizing the sugar and the caffeine in the tea creates a substance called glucuronic acid. And glucuronic acid is a very powerful liver detoxifier. So it's a cancer preventative. And I mean, there's lots of research coming out sort of backing up this traditional knowledge that this type of fermentation leads to liver cleansing. And a liver that's compromised is sort of the beginning of the cancer process. Yes?
Has anyone who got one that they'd like to share?
I'm happy to share with you. I have tons of them.
Oh,
Do you understand how they work? You start out with one. It's like a disc. And then you put it in your tea solution, and it makes another one underneath. It makes a sister. So that's the mother, the one that you get a gift from your friend. And then you make a sister, and then now you can have 2 jars. And then those 2 will each make a sister. Now you can see it grows exponentially. So you end up with stacks of these cultures, and then you can pass them along to your friends. So they don't sell them because that's sort of against the whole principle of it. It's a gift economy. It's a gift exchange, and that's how it works. Yes?
Kimchi is like the Asian version of sauerkraut.
Kimchi is the Asian version of this. There's a recipe for it in Nourishing Traditions, but I say don't use that. It's not traditional.
I think they package it and they sell it at Asian markets. Do you know of any reason that you shouldn't buy that other than it's packaged and you should probably do it yourself?
No, I mean honestly, what you're looking for, really, the only thing you're looking for is you want to start with organic cabbage, if you can. It's ideal. Because what you want is a lot of lactobacteria. If the cabbage is grown in chemical solution, it's not going to have that same degree of lactobacteria. So, yeah, that's the only caveat I'd say. But you can make it for pennies. I mean, literally, you can make this for pennies. I don't know what I paid for this cabbage, but I'm sure it was nothing, really. And so, yes. No, who? Yes, you.
I want to ask you, where do you, going through these principles, it seems to suggest that one can't be vegan and be very healthy.
Dr. Price didn't find any vegetarian cultures on the planet. The closest thing that he found to a vegetarian culture was an African tribe. I think they were called the Bantu. They ate a lot of starches in their diet, but they also ate a lot of insects. Pounds of them every day. Go figure. Really high in fat-soluble vitamins. That's why when you eat eggs from chickens that are on pasture, they're really high in these because they're eating grubs and worms and bugs. So that's what they eat.
Wait, I thought there was like cultures in South
There are now, that's for sure, but not indigenous. And religious sects, yes, I know what you're talking about, religious sects. Now, vegetarian is a different thing than vegan, okay? We're talking about vegan. Yeah, Dr. Price found that a lot of cultures relied heavily on dairy products as their animal source because obviously they're super high when they're on pasture in these fat-soluble activators. So, yeah, a lot of indigenous Indian cultures did rely heavily on dairy. They didn't eat cows, but they ate dairy. Is your hand up this time?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm sorry. I just wondered. Anyway, I'm interested in this. I meant to come into the native thing, and I'm really glad that this happened because I've known people that have been interested in this kind of Dr. Price's principles
Right.
and eat this way and stuff. And my concern is definitely with this meat kind of focus. What I've noticed is that people that follow these principles eat a lot of meat protein or animal protein.
Interestingly enough, they don't eat a lot of meat protein. What they eat is a lot of meat fat. They eat a lot of animal fat. Okay, Dr. Price found that indigenous cultures usually consumed about the equivalent of 1 sardine worth of protein at every meal. So that's not very much.
Okay,
They didn't eat
I
yeah.
really meant animal products.
Right.
And here's what I'm getting at, which is I understand that this kind of, looking at all these indigenous cultures and trying to find similarities and see what the healthiest cultures did. But today,
Yes.
we've got people in the world who can't get enough calories, period. And knowing that it takes many more times the amount of calories to create meat than it does to create grain. How can we, if we're interested in feeding the planet, how can building a diet based on meat work?
Well, it's not based on meat. Once again, it's
Based on
animal
animals.
food.
Based on animals.
Okay, we can eat organs. Nobody wants to eat organs.
Right.
That's where the nutrients are. It's not in the muscle meat. Okay, you can get nutrients from the muscle meat, but not nearly in the concentration you can get in organ meats. Okay,
But still,
so we throw those away.
Right.
Literally, we throw them away. We can feed the planet with organ meats and eyeballs, and I know that sounds strange, but that's in Asia they make fish head soup. That's what they traditionally ate every day with every meal. Why? Because it's really high in iodine. It's really high in these trace minerals. So we're not eating the way people ate indigenously. Therefore, the planet can't support it. Okay? But if we take big fish head soup like they do in Asia, and they're not eating necessarily, they're eating the broth from the fish head,
Sure.
along with whatever, they eat a lot of cultured vegetables in Asia, they eat a lot of pork fat in Asia. So it's not about getting a lot of meat. Okay? Certain types of agriculture are very damaging to the planet. Okay, so soy monoculture, soy, corn, wheat. Okay, this damages the planet a lot more than grazing ruminants. Grazing ruminants are part of an ecosystem that is, inherent in the evolution of the planet. This is natural. It's the way it should be. Yes, Barry?
I'm going to jump in and be provocative
Please.
and say that agriculture is the problem. That agriculture is the destruction of the planet. We're talking about these indigenous culture diet. It was when the population of the planet was 500 million people. There were only 500 million people on the planet. Now we're almost 7 billion. We're consuming the planet, right? We're in serious overshoot. So we're in what's called a predicament, which is distinct from a problem. Problem has a solution. Predicament has no solution. All we can do is manage it. So we're gonna overshoot seriously. We're gonna have a dieback, and then once we have a die-off and we get back down under 1 billion people, then we can kind of reconfigure what we do in terms of our diet and get back to optimum diet. We shouldn't be trying to configure our planet for maximizing the number of people and the number of calories we get. We should be maximizing for human happiness, and human happiness is going to mean that we have a reasonable population such that we're not consuming the planet and we're not in serious overshoot.
And consumption of calories at the expense of nutrients is the seed of degenerative disease. Okay, this country gets plenty of calories. Calories are not the problem. The problem is they're empty calories. Okay, so you can keep a body upright with calories and breathing,